What's good? It's the PHNX podcast. PHNX Cardinals, Brack hanging out with you on a Tuesday, possibly the calm before the storm. Could one franchise quarterback make his way back onto the practice field as early as tomorrow? Could a franchise caliber heart and soul of the organization, Budda Baker, make his way back out onto the practice field? We'll find all of that probably within the next 18 to 24 hours. Can't wait. But my favorite segment of the week is already upon us as we've got our guy Brian Baldinger. Of course, Baldy in the fold today. Every Tuesday joins PHNX Cardinals. And, you know, Baldy, a lot has changed in the last 2 weeks. You were very complimentary of this Arizona Cardinals organization. We liked a lot of what we saw, especially from the offensive side of the football. But what stands out to you as far as Joshua Dobbs, the 5 turnovers the last couple games, about his game that's different from where it was, 2 weeks ago?
Well, I think even more than the turnovers, the 2 missed deep shots to Hollywood Brown. I mean, he got behind, the corner on both times. And it's a home run shot. You can see the frustration. Witherspoon, I think, got a finger on one of them. But the other one, is just poorly thrown. And so they had a chance for 14 points. I mean, you get a deep shot like that, just like Justin Herbert missed Keenan Allen last night. You got to hit those shots. And it wasn't like Aaron Donald was breathing down his neck. They protected really well, and he couldn't finish those. So, he looks frustrated right now that he can't. The last interception he threw on Sunday, he looked really frustrated by what he did and the throw that he made. And so it's starting to mount a little bit right now as running backs go down and, the roster kind of turns over a little bit. I mean, they're losing some of these opportunities where they're in these games for a half or 3 quarters. They can't gain a stinking yard 2 weeks in a row. 4th and 1, there they are. Try to, they got the lead. Like, they can go get more, and they can't convert on 4th and 1. They don't know what play to run, how to execute it. And so there's just frustration that seems to be mounting, Bo.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 2 missed opportunities to Hollywood Brown. One would have been a certain touchdown. The other would have at least moved the chains on 4th down in 2 crucial plays. And it would have changed the complexion of this game, right? Because you go into halftime, it's 9-6. If you get in the end zone once, I don't think that Sean McVay can deploy the offensive game plan that he had in the second half. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I don't know if they come out and run Kyron Williams the way that they did in the second half. Maybe he pops from runs like he did, but I don't know if they're down 2 scores, if he's going to be that patient. He might just start, throwing to Cooper and Nakua and the guys that he does. Like, he might have started that sooner. I don't know that he would have been as patient on the ground, because that was certainly a real departure from what they did in the first half.
Well, when you look at the inaccuracies and you look at Dobbs' games, what's the most concerning thing? Is it just he's too amped up out of there? Is it a footwork thing? Is he just under too much pressure from the opposing defensive front? What are you seeing?
Well, I mean, it might be just some of all that. I mean, I can't get inside Joshua here. He's missing open receivers right now. And look, that's his job, is to complete a high percentage of passes and let those guys, run with it after the catch. And, who knows? Maybe this is what we can expect from Josh. Maybe he's a backup that can capably fill in, play a game or 2, play at a high level, but maybe he's not that guy. This time always kind of shows what a person really is, or what a player really is. Is he really a starter, or is this just what we're looking at right now? Is, it's like I'm getting ready for the Colts, and Gardner Minshew looks like an all-world backup. He goes in there, starts a game, he gets a game ball, they win a game, and now all of a sudden, it's on him. And he throws 3 interceptions last week, and, the game gets away from him. But, sometimes it's just, I don't want to say pressure, but sometimes it's like, okay, I got to make this happen. Like, it's up to me to, convert this 3rd down, get this ball in the end zone, make this deep shot. And sometimes guys just aren't wired to do that week in, week out. and shoulder the load the way you have to in this business.
Now, another person that's had a completely different 2 weeks than they did to have to start the season was rookie third-round pick Michael Wilson. We were really excited about him. Where do you think he struggled to find himself? Why is he less involved in this passing game?
I mean, he's not getting targeted. I mean, he had the big catch, I think, for 26, 28 yards, something. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like they seem to still want to be a run-first team, and when they're not running, Joshua's like taking off with it and picking up big chunks in some of his scrambles. Like it doesn't. Sometimes you just go, okay, a receiver's not involved the way we think he should be. When I watch some of these offenses, and Arizona's not that different than a bunch of them in this offense, that lacks rhythm and timing. Where you watch a healthy Joe Burrow right now drop back and the ball's out, reads the defense, ball's in Jamar Chase's hands, boom. And there's a rhythm to it. There's a timing to it. And it seems to me that rhythm and timing that you saw a bunch, like you saw really pick up with Stafford to Kupp and Stafford and Nakua, you see that timing where the ball's out before the guys are out of their breaks. Like I just don't see that from this offense right now.
And we saw firsthand, like, Burrow and Chase got right against the Arizona Cardinals right before our eyes, 15 catches, 192 yards. Like, what were they able to do that, I think it's asking a lot for a Joshua Dobbs and a third-round rookie out of Stanford. Like, how do they, at least in their way, get back on track like Burrow and Chase have done in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, look, let's face it. I mean, Joe Burrow was the first pick in the draft.
Right.
Jamar Chase was the third pick in the draft. I believe maybe it was the fifth, but
fifth,
they're top of the board. They're the best coming out of a national championship program that we've seen in a long time, and they have unusual skills. And Joe's healthy right now. He got healthy against you, and now he's really healthy. And now they're just I mean, Jamar's got 50 catches after 6 weeks, and he was 2 weeks ago. He was saying, "I'm open. I'm always open."
Right.
And they weren't throwing the ball, so like they just have unusual timing. But you talk to Jamar, like. They've been doing this for 5 years. Like they did it for 2 years at LSU. They've done it 3 years here in Cincinnati. I mean, that's a lot of time together. Off seasons, college, pros, playoffs. That's just a whole lot of time together. You can't expect really Joshua Dobbs or Michael Wilson or Hollywood to have that kind of timing with so little time together.
Yeah, we, the second half, completely different story. It seems like each and every week for this Arizona Cardinals team. But we saw this Rams team abandon the run and then come out and emphasize that in the second half. What is it that's sticking out to you as far as the second half woes? I mean, Nick Rollis' defense did a good job in the first half, but it was against a one-dimensional passing attack. What is it, that you're seeing from this Cardinals defense, just a short positive and then right back to kind of the negatives in the second half?
Well, you're not seeing them play defense on the other side of the football, Bo. And typically if you're going to, shut down a running football team, you're going to penetrate. You're going to get them. See, if you're, look, if you're Arizona right now and you lose 4 yards on first down, like you're not running the ball on 2nd and 14. Neither is Sean McVay's not running it on 2nd and 14. You need some negative runs. You need them to think about handing it off on 2nd and 11, and dropping back, and where you can really alter your defense to really play for the pass and take some things away and maybe take their number one option away. But when you're gashing you for 8 yards on first down or even 6 yards, like it's just a whole lot easier to stay with it. And, that opening touchdown in the third quarter for the Rams, they really just ran it right down their throats. And they just, they got chunks and then they stayed with it with, good runs on first down. They just didn't, you just didn't see the negative plays that you need. And sometimes, you got to dial up a run blitz, you got to dial up a safety off the edge, whatever it is, to try and get them trapped behind the line of scrimmage, to take them out of that rhythm of running it.
Yeah, I mean, it really felt like, at least against San Francisco, there's a disparity in talent, right? I mean, as far as what they were doing, blowing the defensive line off the ball, winning the line of scrimmage, where, you look at this Rams team coming into this contest, it felt like, they were in the same weight class, Baldy, and that didn't look the case in the second half. Like, you mentioned maybe dial up some run blitzes. Are they doing enough schematically, or is it just that talent disparity that's just at at play in the second half of these games, or just at play sometimes when the Cardinals looked overmatched?
Well, like I've been studying the Rams really close, and a lot of people don't know the names of some of these guys, Byron Young or Roseboom, like some of these guys. But I mean, Steve Avila at left guard
Yeah.
he looks like a sumo wrestler. Like that guy's a big, powerful man, and he's a good football player. And Alaric Jackson played good, and they've got their line together right now. I mean, Havenstein's always been a good player, but the thing that they do probably better than everybody else in this whole league is they literally are. I'm not going to get too technical here, Bo, but
Okay.
like they're literally a 11 personnel team. They're literally one back, one tight end, 3 receivers. Except what they're really good at is their receivers are almost like a tight end blocking, like Cooper Kupp. Even this Nakua right now, they're excellent blocking at the line of scrimmage, and they seal the edge. They double team at the point. They dig your safeties out of the box. Like they're really good blockers. They probably Cooper Kupp is probably as good a wide receiver blocker as there is in the NFL. And I think there's sometimes when he has a good block that he's more excited about that than him catching his first touchdown pass of the season last week.
Before I ask you about Kyler Murray, and everybody in the chat wants to talk about K1, there's been rumblings around here that he could return to the practice field. I want to talk about the left tackle on this team. It seems like DJ Humphries, I don't know if it stands out to you on film that he's kind of struggled, especially the last 2 weeks. Is that a product of DJ Humphries having tough matchups the past 2 weeks, or do you see something from the 9-year veteran for the Cardinals that is not too great as far as success?
It doesn't seem to be anchoring real well right now. I mean, they had a run play where I don't know what they were trying to do, honestly. Like everybody pulled and, Aaron Donald, sacked Joshua Dobbs. I think it was a quarterback power. I mean,
Yeah.
But he didn't have a chance to even get his feet set, and Aaron Donald was slamming him to the ground. There had to be a missed assignment there. I don't know if it was Daly, but they've had changes at left guard that always affects your left tackle. I don't know if Daly's a guard at all. He's just looks like a body in there right now. Like you got to have a team on each side, and guys just know each other. They just know how to help each other out because it's all teamwork. And so some of it, I think, is just the struggles they've had at left guard right now, and guys in and out of the lineup.
All right, let's get to the what everybody wants to talk about. It's Kyler Murray. If he hits the practice field tomorrow, what in your opinion is his biggest hurdle? And obviously, you got the 21-day window between going from post-surgery to onto the practice field to him getting into the lineup and having success, kind of recapturing the success we saw through the first 3 years of his NFL career.
Well, it's a new offense. It's a new way of doing things. It's new players. So, you got to build your timing up. And it's one thing, even in the next couple of weeks, it's one thing to go out in the practice field. The game speed is going to be different. These guys, everybody's in full season mode right now. They're in win mode, and they've seen it now for 6 straight weeks. And so everything, his reflexes, his reactions, his eyes, he's got to catch up. He's missed a lot of time. And, a lot of these people went through the off seasons, the preseason games, and the month of September where everybody sort of is trying to get up to speed. And now you're seeing a separation in this league between the haves and have-nots. We're seeing a lot of blowout games. We're seeing teams that really struggle in certain areas, and they're not able to find different ways to coach that weakness up. So he's got to catch up to all that. And, just for example, just the missed throws to Hollywood, 4th and 5. I don't know if he's going to be any better than Joshua was. Maybe he will. Maybe it just comes back like he's back at Allen High School. I don't know. But I think that there's a curve where he's got to catch up to the speed. I mean, that sounds, crazy. K1
Sure.
is always fast as anybody. But just catch up to the speed of the game and the speed that you got to play the game at and how fast these teams are playing.
And what does K1 bring back to the Cardinals that isn't on the roster that exists right now, that Joshua Dobbs can't do for them at this moment?
Well, I mean, Josh has done. He's still played well. I mean,
Sure.
Look, he's got the fumbles, he's got the interceptions the last couple of weeks. Like the turnovers are there, but he's rescued a lot of plays. He's been a lot of big scrambles. He's kept them in games into the third quarter, even in these games they've lost recently to Cincinnati. And last week he's got him in the games. But Kyler. He's a baller. Like, okay, I just remember that play against the Raiders last year, keeping a play alive, finding a way to win a game. Like, he's thrown the Hail Mary passes. He's won in the fourth quarter. He's gone to the playoffs. Like, he's just got so much more experience at all levels, major college football, the NFL level. And so, I think there's a certain amount of, I got to show this regime, this team, the league, that I was worth the contract, that I was worth the number one. Like, he's got a lot to prove. And so I think if he feels that way, and I think he does, if he feels that way, then he should prepare and play that way.
Incredible insight from our guy Baldy, Brian Baldinger, jumping on all of our city programs, looking out for more from Baldy. But, of course, you can watch his work, NFL Network. You can follow him at Baldy NFL on Twitter for all his great Baldy breakdowns. You can find those across the YouTube streets as well. Looking forward to the next Tuesday, my man. Enjoy the games here already in Week 7 of the NFL season. Thanks, Baldy.
It's fine, Bo. You got it, man. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Brian Baldinger. So, we jump right into things on Tuesday with Baldy, and I didn't get Johnny's not gone. We didn't just fire his ass. We didn't just tell him, hey, here's a box, put all your shit in it and get out of here. Brian, Johnny Venerable he's just not available today. Got the day off. He'll be off tomorrow, but he'll be back in the fold on Thursday. But he's still covering, of course, this team. He can't get away from it. He's a sicko, just like all of us, seeking out Cardinals insight info as far as Kyler Murray. We got some updates for that. Budda Baker hitting Twitter, putting on social media, maybe a little cryptic tweets, could be saying that he might be coming back as well. Some info, some updates, of course, on the Cardinals stars. And also we're going to talk to Brad Spielberger. More NFL insight from more NFL experts. Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus is going to join us here later on the show. So without Johnny, we're going to continue all the giving you all that NFL insight that you crave here on PHNX Cardinals. Got to talk to you, of course, about our friends over at Circle K, your inner circle. You got to stop at America's thirst shop. Don't delay any longer. Become a member of their new free membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. And your 6th, you're going to get a free selection of Circle K products. Pizza, coffee, Polar Pops, those fountain drinks, everything that you crave from Circle K. You can do that today, joining their free membership, The Inner Circle. Download it at Circle K, the app today. Terms and conditions apply. Participating locations, of course. Visit CircleK.com for more details. Also, got to tell you about our friends over at OG's Brands. Once you get all those snacks, once you load up on all the snacks over at Circle K, go load up on some OG's Brands at your favorite local dispensary. OG's Brands, you can use, you can figure out if you like the fruits, you like the creams. They've got the orange creamsicle as far as the creams. They've got the red apple, the watermelon, the peach as far as the fruits go. You get the mixed bags. Figure out which one's for you, or if you just like that variety. You can absolutely do that. Just get the mixed bags. They come in 100 milligram bags. Also, check out their all their Hall of Fame flavors, all their full product line at ogsbrands.com. Follow them on your socials. And like I said, find them at your local dispensary. Got to be 21 years or older and enjoy responsibly.
I gotta say, I think the are you a fruits guy or are you a creams gal is like my favorite thing that we do, and on our ad reads on this show.
Yeah, I think that's it's basically the question that needs to be answered. And
it's the age old question.
It is it certainly is, as our producer Damon Dog chimes in. Let's see. Let's get into so everybody was crushing in the chat from the very get-go. Let's start with Craig. Why did we cut Myjai Sanders? It's a great question because a lot of people were excited about the third round selection from the 2022 NFL draft, part of Steve Keim's final draft class, because of his speed, his athleticism, his length. And I guess that this organization, the new regime, from Monty Ossenfort to Jonathan Gannon to defensive coordinator Nick Rallis, it just didn't feel like he was somebody that they felt like they could move forward with. I mean, when you look at what the messaging that they've preached since Monty took over in the front office and JG took over as far as the coaching staff goes, they're looking for versatile guys. And I think the one knock against Myjai Sanders is he doesn't have much versatility. He's kind of a one-trick pony as far as his pass rush goes, more of a speed guy and more like pin your ears back. Is he a guy that can kind of do everything that you need in the pass rush game? Can you be good against getting after the quarterback and in the run game? And I just don't think that that's what they saw from Myjai Sanders. Now it's a jam-packed room, and it's like a ton of guys from 6 deep right now would have been 7 with Myjai Sanders if they ever activated him off of the injury reserve, which never came to fruition. He was cut before that happened. But they decided, look, they like these other guys because of their ability to do different things. Like they want guys who are adaptable, who are versatile, who are violent. Like I think that you could say like Myjai, he can play the violent part. He can be smart, but is he adaptable? Is he versatile? And I don't think that that's anything that you see in his game. Like Austin, he's like, I like Myjai Sanders. It opens a roster spot, never doesn't open any roster spots. Like Myjai Sanders was never activated from injured reserve, so he was never taking up a roster spot. He was a guy that he was just on that injury list, and he was designated return, but until he was actually activated, it doesn't open a roster spot for the Arizona Cardinals. They're still at 52, so they're one below the max 53-man roster. So they can make even if they designate a Kyler Murray to return tomorrow, if they designate a Budda Baker to return tomorrow, as long as they don't activate those guys, that roster spot remains open. And they also have to activate Garrett Williams at some point between now and next Wednesday. So a couple different, like when they do activate all 3 of those guys, and that's pretty much inevitable, like they're going to have to make 2 more roster spots. So, John Paul Edwards-Dio is saying Myjai can't hold versus the run, and I think that that's probably part of it. Like they need guys that can do different things on this defensive line. Does he diversify it a little bit? Is it more kind of telegraph what you're trying to do when Myjai Sanders got in the game? I think the answer is yes. And they want guys that create conflict as far as opposing offense in knowing, okay, we don't know if Dennis Gardeck's going to drop back in coverage or if he's going to get after the quarterback. We don't know if Zaven Collins is going to do that either. So Myjai Sanders, I don't think, had that skill set in order to really crack a rotation outside of just being a guy that can go in there and get after a passer, and they need more from that. So it's unfortunate. We'll see if Myjai Sanders goes the way of, a Josh Jones or an Isaiah Simmons, where, and those were trades, right? Myjai is going to likely go through waivers unclaimed and he'll sign somewhere, but does he sign as a practice squad guy? Does he make his way onto a 53-man roster? Does he bite the Cardinals in the ass for letting go of a 3rd-round pick before really even plays in his 2nd NFL season? We'll see. But if anything's been shown so far is like Steve Keim selected players haven't kind of bit the Arizona Cardinals in the ass so far. Like nobody has emerged as big-time players elsewhere. And the Cardinals said, man, you know what? I wish we still had this guy on the roster. Like so far, Monty Ossenfort is got a near perfect batting average. He's batting 1,000 as far as guys he's decided to let go and aren't really going and performing elsewhere. Let's see, DD's saying our CBs are being exploited when you see what Garrett Williams can bring. Absolutely. I think people are waiting for that. The thing I would say, though, with Garrett Williams is you're going to have to be real patient. I mean, this is a guy who hasn't played football in nearly a calendar year. He tore his ACL against Notre Dame at the end of October last season, and that was at the collegiate level. And there's a big difference there. He's going to be thrown in there, and I think they're going to try to work him in a little bit easier than you would even like with a guy like Kyler Murray and Baldy went over the hurdles at K1, who's in his 5th NFL season, like what he's facing. In the cornerback position, we're seeing it's brutal, especially when you're undermanned basically on every level of the defense. You're not getting the pass rush you need. You're not getting it at the second level outside of Kazir White. And then the secondary, it's been gashed by injury and it's been underperforming as far as on the outside, the cornerback spot. So absolutely, D-line is key, and they're not getting much, tough, great play from that defense. So it's kind of like it's a give and take, and we're seeing a lot of a take from opposing offenses on this defense. And Garrett Williams it'll be refreshing and nice to see, when he shows up and what he has to offer. But, Myjai Sanders, Garrett Williams, that's exciting stuff, right? But the main headline maker is Kyler Murray. What's the latest on Kyler Murray? I saw the news today, and it's repackaged news stuff that was said on the Arizona Cardinals flagship radio show station yesterday from Jonathan Gannon. It wasn't anything that we haven't heard before. You can kind of like look at his wording on it, but it's basically been like, we'll see. I mean, Johnny Venerable said on Sunday after the loss that he had a source that said he'd be shocked if Kyler Murray doesn't return to practice this week. And that's been from Sunday. The new news came out, and it was like Bobby Manaman of AZ Central saying what Jonathan Gannon said on the flagship station yesterday. And it's pretty much the status quo of what, and really no moving of the chains from what Johnny reported on Sunday. But the biggest thing, and the biggest tell, is going to be tomorrow morning. So Jonathan Gannon's going to meet with us in the press room before they take the field for practice, and we'll see if he divulges, whether or not Kyler Murray or Budda Baker is going to be out there. But, there hasn't been this much momentum all season long, and there's been plenty of times where, it feels like Kyler Murray is going to be designated a return, and it hasn't happened. But this really feels like, that they could pull the trigger on this and really start the process, truly starting the process, kind of the home stretch of Kyler Murray getting back out there and wearing his number 1 jersey for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, do we have the Budda Baker tweet? Not yet. We're good. But we have the Budda Baker tweet coming. But, as far as Kyler Murray goes, like I didn't see anything today that told me anything different than we've got to wait to see what Jonathan Gannon says on Wednesday. And, it was a reporter, was it Gambo, saying, he could be designated return this week or he could be designated return next week. I mean, that doesn't give us too much. I mean, I feel like a lot of people were anticipating that as well. I mean, things have certainly changed as far as how this organization's been covered. Like before, there were a whole lot of leaks with this organization. There was, it seemed like there were a ton of people with a ton of sources that were coming out from the walls of that facility where since Monty Ossenfort, since Jonathan Gannon got in there haven't been that many leaks. Like we heard, of course, about Adam Schefter a couple of weeks ago saying that Kyler Murray would not be designated a return the first week that he was eligible, and that turned out to be true. But we're not seeing anything as far as, from the DeAndre Hopkins story to what they were going to do with the 3rd overall pick, and they ended up trading out of it and trading back up. There wasn't a whole lot of leaks coming out of this organization, and it continues to be true with Kyler Murray. So I would take everything kind of with a grain of salt. But the biggest thing that we're going to know as far as Kyler Murray and what potentially his future could be, and what the timeline will be come tomorrow. Like we're either sitting here tomorrow talking about how great it is Kyler Murray's returning the practice field, or what the heck, they're going to wait another week. So, but we're going to know within the next 12 hours, which is exciting. I mean, this is I think this is the first real opportunity that this could actually happen. So let's take a look at these super chats here. AZ Fan 1998. Do you think K1 gets off PUP tomorrow and Baker and Williams get fully activated this week? Our Cardinals need all the help they can get. Look, absolutely they do. As far as Budda Baker going from immediately designated a return to activated, I think that's probably the most realistic scenario, and we haven't seen that under Gannon, under Monty. It's mostly been guys have been designated, they practice, they get up to speed on the practice field, and then then potentially they'll get activated like a week later, like Dennis Daly did. And this is like kind of the first couple rounds of guys who've gone through and have been eligible after a stint on the IR to come back. What did I see? Somebody was shading Florio, which was always good. I always approve of that. Arizona Animal, I don't care, or I don't know. Florio's still probably talking shit about the Cardinals, LOL. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think Florio, he repurposed some of the info coming out of some local affiliations here from AZ Central to 98.7, and that's fine. But I think ultimately, I don't think anybody truly knows definitively until tomorrow. But tomorrow's the big day. Step Hens and Kyler practicing will be a welcome sight, no doubt about it. We had the All-Purpose podcast today with Greg Dortch, and I asked him directly, because that's exactly what it is, right? When Kyler Murray becomes designated return, it's not Kyler Murray's designated return, and just like we were talking about with Budda, it doesn't, Kyler's not playing against Seattle. That ain't happening, right? He's got to get acclimated to this offense. So Kyler Murray, what does him just being designated return and hit the practice field mean for Greg Dortch and his teammates? Like, how big of a boost can that give him? This is what Greg Dortch had to say. What would it do? Like, just getting him back on the practice field, what would it just do for the rest of yourself, your teammates?
Man, that's QB1. I mean, I feel like just the energy and the swagger that he brings, like, Kyler's confident. You get what I'm saying? When you have a guy that is the leader and he's that confident, it just trickles down to each player. You know what I'm saying? Defense, offense, special teams, he's confident. So you have to be confident right with him. But like I said, he's itching to get back out there. And I know they want to make sure that everything's right for him so he can come back in and be successful. And I think when the time is right, he'll be ready.
It's got to get you pumped. It's got to get you pumped that your franchise quarterback, he's itching to get back out there. And that's what we've been hearing for weeks now, that he wants to be back out there on the playing field, gearing up in taking the next steps to get back out there in the huddle with his teammates, playing in a new offense. So hearing that from Greg Dortch and their pals, like they're boys, like Kyler Murray and Greg Dortch, they are absolutely boys. It's not like, hey, they just happen to be on the same team and teammates and acquaintances just throughout, work friends, right? Like Damon and me. Like Damon and I, we haven't been out to get beers together yet, so we're just work friends. We're not official friends. So, but Kyler Murray, Greg Dortch, they are official friends. So it will give them an absolute bump. It's not an indictment on it. It's just you just started working for the show, Damon.
Can we get beers together? That sounds like a great time.
It's absolutely happening at the BetMGM this Sunday. That's happening. But as far as how it pertains to Kyler Murray and Greg Dortch, yeah, absolutely, Ben. I mean, this is a two-way street, Damon. Step it up. I think that's encouraging to hear Dortch say that's Kyler's mindset. And now he's just waiting for the green light from, I'm sure, the training staff, from his surgeon, his doctors, and then of course Jonathan Gannon to say, all right, let's start this thing. Let's really fire this thing up. And it could start as early as tomorrow. So, and it's Damon. Let's get it right. It's the Damon dog. It's not Damien. That's on us. We should be saying it more often.
No, it's all good. It's always, everyone always thinks Damien. It's Damon. It's all good. I appreciate it.
And Mikey Desert Cardinal, I think, this is the main point. Kyler's going to need a couple weeks of practice at minimum, and he'll need to get the reps he can get. So when we look at this, when Kyler Murray, when he comes back, if he's designated to return tomorrow, best case scenario, Kyler Murray is back on the playing field in week 8 against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. That it wouldn't, like I said, no Seattle. And then you've got a road game at Cleveland, which, it's potential, right? And then in week 10 is probably another opportunity for Kyler Murray to come back. And that's probably at the latest week 10 against the Atlanta Falcons. So you've got 2 home games. 2 of the 3 are home games. I got to imagine that this organization would really want him to return to the lineup in front of the Red Sea, in front of the home crowd. So Baltimore, Atlanta, I think that those are 2 that you could circle as the likely return dates for Kyler Murray. Fishbowl Flash, the host of the Best Bet Show. Absolutely, Damon Dog. PHNX Best. Yeah, Michael Evans, Johnny, day off. He'll be back in the fold tomorrow. So yeah, everybody's saying Atlanta. Super sticker from our guy DD, just saying good job, and it breaks down the emoji that he used. Johnny must be cutting down trees in his lumberjack shirt that he was wearing in his post in our pre and post game on Sunday.
We never got a comment from Johnny about that. There was a lot of people coming at him for the lumberjack flannel, and he never responded to it. He usually responds to those type of. He
won't be responding to his basic bitch ways with his lumberjack and his pumpkin spice. I love that. That Austin Romano with the Brawny Venerable is elite. Brawny Venerable is absolutely an elite nickname.
That is exactly the shirt, isn't it? He bought that exact shirt.
Yeah. He's the brawny man, brawny venerable on the packaging of some of the most reliable paper towels out there on the market. The Wing King. The Wing King is definitely using brawny to wipe his face and wipe his mitts after putting down a dozen of delicious wings at BetMGM. Miss his shirt, absolutely. What's up, Ivor? So just great stuff all around. I mean, it's one of those things where, are you hurrying up and waiting? It's like when you're 1-5, these are the things you look forward to. But I think at any point you're looking forward to your franchise quarterback, continuing the path to returning to the playing field, because then we start to look at, and we can start to preview what Kyler Murray looks like in Drew Petzing's offense, because I think that's what everybody's excited about. What he was able to do, and I guess kind of less recently, but a couple weeks ago with Joshua Dobbs, and putting Joshua Dobbs in this Cardinals offense in really a great place for success, where they were scoring 20 points, in back-to-back weeks, going into the locker room and putting up 28 points for the game. And just thinking, okay, what could Kyler Murray do with these schemes, with these crossing routes, with these wide receivers that have a ton of separation between them and any opposing defender? That's what people get excited about. And they also think about, okay, this is a team that has struggled to put teams away, has been brutal in the second half, especially on the offensive side of the football, where they've just they've hit a ceiling as far as 8 points scored in the second half. They haven't scored more than that in any game this season. What Kyler Murray, how he transforms his offense, and he can take them to that next level. He can break through that glass ceiling offensively that they've hit all, this entire season. And, there's been this team that's been competitive, right? It's been 1-score games for the most part, deep in the third quarters, going in the fourth quarter, and then the wheels fall off. Kyler Murray gives you that chance to right the ship and finish some games, right? Or put games out of reach going into halftime. Obviously you feel like when you're beating the Giants, you're beating them up and you're up 20-0 at halftime. Like that type of game, I think Kyler Murray puts that game away. Is even though the Giants offense, the outlier for their entire season, they've been brutal otherwise offensively all season long. Like, even though they couldn't get off the field defensively, the Cardinals, I think Kyler Murray could at least run some clock against the Giants and put up more points than a Joshua Dobbs-led offense did in that contest. So it's that's what you're looking for, and that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to that checkpoint. Can they designate him to return? So Doc's cards, Chandler Jones available. I don't think his NFL days are on hold until figure out what's going on off the field. Jessica, Kyler has confidence nobody can match. I don't disagree, and I think that's what Greg George conveyed. You were there, Jessica, very loyal viewer of PHNX Sports here on YouTube. I know you were in the chat today watching Greg, and you saw him say it firsthand. I mean, he has that confidence. He's been playing this game at a high level his entire life, and he's got that quiet confidence that he can come in there, and where the Cardinals are ailing offensively, he views himself as a solution to that. So
I just see him as the type of player that, like, he can get first downs by himself. He can make plays by himself that a lot of QBs don't have that, like, kind of dynamic ability.
Yeah.
So in a offense that's struggling, that is, ailing, like you said, he has the ability to kind of just put a team on his back that unfortunately Dobbs doesn't have, and it's just going to be nice to have that back.
Yeah, I think, the offense struggling obviously held out of the end zone last game, and that's the second offensive performance where they didn't score any touchdowns. Week 1, and I think week 1 we feel is more of a fluke or more of an anomaly because of Joshua Dobbs and the lack of time he had to prepare. But, I think even with the struggles of this offense, Kyler Murray, for the first time in his career, has the offensive infrastructure that he's never had, right? Like, I've talked about this, and I say I want to see from this organization, from the coaching staff to the players on the field, put themselves in a position to where Kyler Murray doesn't have to come in and play hero ball and be the savior. But I think they at least offer in a different way from last year, where the previous regime absolutely relied on Kyler Murray to fix and cover up a lot of their, I guess, deficiencies, to where the infrastructure is there from a play calling standpoint, to an offensive line standpoint, to a playmaker standpoint, to where Kyler Murray, he can play with in the offense and show off his incredible skill set, especially the accuracy, which we've been missing the last couple of weeks, but then also make those plays you're talking about, Damon, to where if something breaks down, that's where he kind of kicks it into a different gear, to where it's nice to see the mobility and the athleticism from Joshua Dobbs, to where Kyler Murray is next world with that. And we'll see, I don't know where he's going to be coming back from this injury, but he's still, I think if they're going to give him the okay to come back, that he's going to be pretty damn close. It's going to take some time knocking some rust off to go, to really get back to where he was peak form like 2021. But you're really going to like what you're going to see, I think, once he gets going in this offense. We're going to talk to Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus, here in just a bit. He's going to talk about potential moves, who could get dealt from the Cardinals before the NFL trade deadline. He's got lots of great work at PFF.com, and also maybe look ahead to the NFL draft. I think the conversation about taking a quarterback has kind of it's a little bit it was at a fever pitch at one point where this team was struggling out of the gates and Dobbs was struggling and we didn't know what to expect, to where now, you had a poor performance from Caleb Williams. And I think that this team with Kyler Murray potentially coming back, the talk of a quarterback in round one, it gets kind of paused. So which prospects would the Arizona Cardinals be looking at beyond, some of the quarterbacks in a very talent-rich 2024 draft? Before we get to Brad, another star player for the Arizona Cardinals that can be making his way back. Can we kind of decipher this tweet from Budda Baker? There he is. Just is a guy in a ninja suit emoji. I think if I'm just translating this correctly, I believe that means he's coming back tomorrow. Anybody else want to try to translate that?
I think that's a direct definition.
Yeah, Jessica, he ready, right? I think that he's ready to go. He's ready to go back to war, Budda Baker. And 4 weeks for Budda Baker, I'm sure, has been an eternity. And dealing with a hamstring injury and decision to put him on any of the injury lists with IR, I think a guy like Budda Baker, if Kyler Murray's chomping on his bit, I'm sure they had to restrain Budda Baker. I'm sure they had people, I bet they had security around the practice field just to keep him off so they didn't break any kind of rules as far as the NFL and IR rules go. Didi, yeah, baby. Budda is back. Officially, if it's going to come down tomorrow, and it should be an electric Jonathan Gannon press conference. Could be, very short to the point, but the press conference. If he doesn't give us any insight as far as who's going to be back in the press conference, there's going to have to be official word from the team before they hit the practice field. So by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're going to have some insight. And of course, you got to keep it locked to this channel. You got to be subscribed, and you're going to want to have notifications set up, because if there's an Adam Schefter tweet out between now and tomorrow's practice, we're going to have an emergency podcast telling you whether or not Kyler Murray's coming back. But excited to talk to Brad Spielberger here in just a few minutes, but also excited to tell you about FOCO. As Kyler Murray potentially nears a return to the playing field, you want to maybe take your apparel gear up a level. The leading manufacturer in sports entertainment merchandise is FOCO. Check out FOCO.com. It's the official licensed gear for all sports fans. You've got baseball season going on. You can get yourself some D-backs, Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, of course, football season. How about you get yourself some Cardinals overalls? You've got some Cardinals slides. You can be Cardinals fan from head to toe with FOCO. You get 10% off on all your Arizona sports gear by going to FOCO.com and then using it on any non-presale items, and you get that 10% off all your FOCO gear. I also got to tell you about just becoming a PHNX diehard. Go PHNX.com. The entire site is available to you by becoming a diehard today. You get a free shirt that you get each and every year. By becoming a diehard, you get access to the member Discord. Don't miss out on it. Become a PHNX diehard today. Go PHNX.com. PHNX Locker for all the free swag that you can get by becoming a diehard today. Also, it's going to give you access to some of the exclusive partnerships we have. We had with that Dobson Ranch, we had a couple deals going on there. We got deals with BetMGM Sportsbook.
I believe you get a free ranch card, which you can go to the driving range at Dobson Ranch.
Yeah, just go crush some balls at the driving range at Dobson Ranch. You become a diehard. You're doing that for free. I don't think there's any limit to it. So become a diehard today. Don't miss out. Go PHNX.com. And, of course, PHNXLocker.com. Love to talk to our guy, Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus. So let's get on to that interview and chat more Cardinals with this NFL expert. Always like to get this guy in here, Brad Spielberger, of course, Pro Football Focus, churning out the great work over there at PFF.com. Make sure you're checking out, and you're dialed into his Twitter as well at PFF_Brad. Brad, so I'm running solo today, but that's because I think you ratioed my poor partner, Johnny Venerable, to death. We have the screen cap from the tweet a couple of weeks ago. Johnny Venerable just innocently just putting out there Travis Hunter could start for the Cardinals right now, and then Brad, you came back at PFF_Brad, could possibly start for some NFL teams too. Last time I checked, this thing was liked like 25,000 times. It was indeed a ratio.
Funny is like the dumbest tweets go viral. Like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you say, I probably thought that was going to get 5 likes and just move on, and then I had to like mute the thing because it was going nuclear. But I apologize, Johnny. I get why I hurt your feelings while you're not here. That was entirely on me.
Yeah, it was a fatal blow. I believe he's left the Twitter streets officially, and he's retired from the NFL content creation game after that one, Brad.
You know, it wasn't my intention, but you know, sometimes a ratio hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah. We've all been taken down by the unfriendly ratio. Also taken down another casualty of the Steve Keim regime for the Arizona Cardinals, according to Adam Schefter, barring any kind of unforeseen trade that comes out of nowhere. They're going to cut ties with Myjai Sanders, former third-round pick out of Cincinnati. Not really asking about Myjai specifically, you know, his game 3 sacks in his rookie year, had the hand injury in preseason, and just never made his way onto the playing field preseason game or regular season game. But in your experience, what does a move like this usually signify?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in this particular team, I know there's no superstars, but they do kind of have some depth at edge. I think we've seen good play from Victor Dimukeje. You know, Zaven Collins in the new position, I think, has made some plays. So sometimes it is as simple as the new regime trying to kind of clear out old talent and bring in their guys. But yeah, I mean, like in a weird way, they probably just can't get him snaps and probably are saying, hey, we're going to waive you and probably do right by you because someone else could, you know, that liked you in the draft last year might pick you up and give you some reps.
Yeah, it's interesting because every time you see a regime change at the general manager spot, as Monty Ossenfort comes in here, people want to play a quick connecting of the dots. Like, oh, look out for the head coach. Look out for the quarterback. It's not his guy. But it kind of lost in that are the down the roster guys. And it just feels like that was what Myjai Sanders was. That's what you've been seeing, you know, with Rashard Lawrence before that. Just seems like they're getting, you know, they're bringing in their guys in place of the previous GM's guys.
Yeah, and they just want to get these young players snaps, right? I mean, now that BJ Ojulari is healthy, that's probably the actual, you know, 1-to-1 correlation there is maybe there was a window where Myjai was going to start playing, but Ojulari gets healthy, I think is playing some pretty good football already so far. And you say, again, look, there's 5-6 guys ahead of you on this depth chart right now. And I think it does help the player where it's so fresh. There are GMs across the league that probably said, oh, yeah, I had X grade on this guy, you know, a year ago, you know, and I think highly of me could maybe be a little rotational piece for us, you know, going into the playoffs, whatever. So, but yeah, you do see it a lot. I think sometimes people view it as malicious, like, oh, they only want yes men and they only want their people in the building. No, I think sometimes it's as simple as he's just not a part of the long-term plan and they don't want to do wrong by the player either.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pass rush group that goes 6 deep. It would be 7 if Myjai Sanders was activated from the IR. He's just designated to return. It was just a numbers game. It really felt like. But now we're seeing, you know, like the Keim pieces that exited. Like they trade Isaiah Simmons for a 7th round pick. Haven't seen, you know, I don't think the Giants have cashed in that lottery ticket just yet. I mean, just like under 20 tackles hasn't made that big of an impact. You see, you know, Josh Jones down there with the Houston Texans. Like outside of that, like Lawrence was cast off. I think Lacita Smith, an offensive lineman, was cast off. They haven't resurfaced anywhere else. I think that this Monty Ossenfort has been pretty correct as far as realizing who can play and who can't.
No, for sure. I mean, I think Josh Jones is a pretty good player, a pretty solid swing tackle, and he's kind of come in there, got hurt because if you're a Houston Texans offensive lineman in 2023, like, be careful. Maybe just roll up in bubble wrap because you're going to get hurt. So, you know, he's played some left guard, he's played some right tackle. But, yeah, like you said, these guys are either not signing with teams or not playing, and it probably, you know, sends a message. This wasn't, oh, they won't use a guy that I think has potential. Like, he probably doesn't look all that good in practice.
So as we are 6 games into the season, the Arizona Cardinals 1-5, feisty 1-5, we'll call it, I guess. But what have you kind of learned about this 2023 Cards team under Jonathan Gannon?
I think the coaching staff deserves, some leeway. We know they do not have talent, and I think you look at a bunch of metrics. They are bottom 10 in the NFL in 3-and-out rate, and I guess I should say top 10. Like they don't, have a lot of 3-and-outs this season. They're top 5 in the NFL on scripted drives, which we define as the first 15 plays, and converting those series into scores. They're tied for 5th in the NFL there. So, eventually the talent disparity catches up to them, and we're now seeing, some scores that are a bit more lopsided as compared to earlier in the season. But, they're getting a lot out of the talent. I think we're finally seeing, Garrett Williams now play. I mentioned BJ Ojulari. I think Paris Johnson gets better each week, and I think you see little nuances to his game improve. Like, I think early on in his career, stunts and twists kind of gave him issues, and his IDing of those things was not strong. And as weeks go on, I think more and more he's not falling for some of those tricks on sim pressures and stuff like that. So I'm still very confident in where this team is going. I think they're being coached well, being put in position to succeed. I mean, the one splash they made in free agency, if you want to call it a splash, and Kaiser White, I think is playing good football. Like, I'm bullish. I am still bullish on this team. I did not have expectations. Maybe once Kyler gets in the fold, Michael Wilson's been falling as a rookie receiver. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still trending. They're trending positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the sense people get around here. They like the direction of this club. Obviously, that's not without frustration. And you talk about the talent disparity. It's like that really shows up in the second half. The numbers in the second half they're almost vomit-inducing. Like you just can't find, outside of the Cowboys game where this team is played in the second half. I think they've topped out at 8 points in the second half each and every game. So that's just not getting it done. But that's when, you get worn down, your depth issues show up, and then teams that have, premier players and maybe are a little bit heavier, a better weight class can throw that weight around and kind of impose their will on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think they also can just identify the mismatches throughout the course of a game, go into a locker room and say, okay, let's start throwing at Marco Wilson. Let's start, targeting certain spots and recognizing where we have an advantage in this game and take advantage of it. So, yeah, and, I think we sometimes do point to halftime adjustments as a coaching thing. It is, sure, but I would give these guys the benefit of the doubt too once they have a little bit more talent on the roster. But, avoiding all the negatives, Josh Dobbs doesn't take a lot of sacks, doesn't really turn the ball over. I know it's gotten a little bit worse the last couple of weeks, but there's just, I still, when I watch this team, I say they're getting a lot out of the talent they have. Young players and some just kind of poor players. So when they do have talent, I'm excited for what that could be.
I love that you were the first to the party for the Drew Petzing trendy offensive play caller, maybe like a future NFL head coach. Has that changed in the last couple of weeks? You mentioned the success as far as scripted plays and maybe lack thereof of plays that aren't scripted. What do you like from Petzing?
Yeah, I think he's a good play sequencer, and you just see the concepts work off of each other. There's no wasted wrinkle to a play, or you'll see them, have a play action or a pre-snap motion or something where later on in the game they'll go back to it, but with a different actual play out of it. And you'll see a defense maybe tee off on a play action because it was a run the first time, and then of course it's not this time around, or be jet motion, orbit motion, whatever. And on the first play, let's say they handed it to the guy, or they threw a screen to the orbit motion player, and the second time around it's just a decoy. Like, I mean, there's a plan and a purpose to what they do, and I'm telling you that is not the case in a lot of NFL buildings this season. So I like that. And then, I mean, look, you go for 230 on the ground against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you're putting your players, I think, in advantageous scenarios where they have good run blockers. Paris Johnson's an awesome run blocker. I liked bringing back Will Hernandez this offseason. Like, I think they're just getting a lot out of the talent they have. I mentioned all the young talent, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, look, there's going to be some ugly plays here and there, but I think it's an efficient and, competent offense, which sounds like a low bar, but I'm a Bears fan. I have a Steelers podcast. The bar is competent is actually a decently high bar, is what I've learned.
I thought you were just going to say it's a low bar sometimes, just with the audience you're talking to here, where the Cardinals fans came from and where they are right now with just a competent play caller. I think that they'll take that as one of the few wins they'll get in 2023. You've got a great article right now, pff.com, and you mentioned to me before we started this thing that you got one coming up. It's geared towards the NFL trade deadline, but right now you got trade deadline candidates, rumors, and hypothetical trades. Cardinals not involved in this article. Me and Johnny would throw around a couple names, and like the quartet of players that we looked at, I just don't see them moving. And it's headlined by Zach Ertz. Throw DJ Humphries right there, probably one of the highest paid players on this team. He's struggled as of late at the left tackle position. Dennis Gardeck, who's been a nice guy who's had a good little season here, about 4 sacks. Do you envision anybody, and Marquise Hollywood-Brown, of course, who got a lot of run a couple weeks ago when, I don't know if you could say that they were true rumors, but Marquise Hollywood-Brown, there was interest. What are your thoughts? Any true candidates that could be dealt before the deadline for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I know teams have called Arizona about Marquise Brown, and as far as I understand it, at this point, they've been rebuffed. I think the team likes him, and obviously we know the connection with Kyler Murray. The Gardeck one is interesting. He has been great, but historically, obviously been a rotational pass rusher in a bigger role now. And I think that, to me, is always the number one spot. If you want to get someone to overpay at the deadline, it is a good pass rushing edge rusher, because contending teams that want more juice off the edge are going to pay a premium and are going to give you a little bit extra, because it's such a valuable component to what you're trying to do. And especially teams that have injuries there, Baltimore, just one random example, but they'll pay even more. We saw last year Philadelphia trade for Robert Quinn, gave a 4th-round pick for him and didn't even play him. Like, it's a great spot to get value. I haven't heard anything personally there, but yeah, it's a good name to mention because he's playing some good ball.
Yeah. So the Hollywood-Brown thing, it's really interesting because we see, and I hear from Jonathan Gannon on a daily basis, how much he likes Hollywood-Brown. He's shown up when they really need him on 3rd down. He's been a huge target for Joshua Dobbs. He's been making big explosive plays. And Dobbs even missed him on some pretty easy drop in the bucket passes that should have been 6. When you look at Hollywood-Brown, and this is your expertise, just trying to predict these contracts, I mean, where do you see from him this offseason potentially as it stands right now?
I think this also does play into it in my eyes. It's a very poor wide receiver market this past offseason. I mean, effectively no one got paid. And even all the young guys looking for extensions, T. Higgins doesn't get money. Michael Pittman doesn't get money. Even further down the board, your Darnell Mooney's, your Gabe Davis's, they're really, it was a down offseason for the wide receiver position kind of at large. And so I think you are talking tier 2, and you're maybe not even getting to 20. If you are getting to 20, it's 20 flat or right at that number, which going forward with, Justin Jefferson and some of the other players that are going to get paid will look like a decent contract. So yeah, I think he is maybe a tier 1B or 2A, like receiver. He's a good player. I know we love to define what a quote unquote number 1 is. He can be maybe the best receiver on a team if you have good depth there, and you have a couple of good young players around him, and still be a playoff team and a competitive football team. So yeah, I don't think it's going to break the bank. And I think that, maybe a franchise tag is required at the outset, but that you can get a deal done in the low 20s, which I think is reasonable.
So a little bit north of where Christian Kirk signed a couple of years ago.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that a lot of people probably took their breath away. I mean, paying Hollywood-Brown that much, as much as they like what they've seen from, of course, Kyler Murray's old Oklahoma Sooners teammate in the wide receiver 1 for this Arizona Cardinals team. I love in your article that you've got different mock drafts throughout each and every move that you predict, and each and every candidate you've got a mock draft. And of course, it's already draft season here with a 1-5 start, and of course 2 premium picks. Unfortunately, Houston Texans not playing their part very well. They're winning football games, but when you look at these Cardinals picks, one projects potentially top 5 their own, and then you've got that Texans pick, we'll say anywhere from 12 to 20, right? I mean, who are you eyeing for top prospects for this Arizona Cardinals team in the 2024 draft?
Yeah, so let's say they don't go quarterback, and I honestly don't get the vibe that's maybe it happens. I guess I shouldn't speculate there, but let's say they don't. I think the beauty of this class is you just talked about DJ Humphries. Obviously signed the short extension a couple off seasons ago, but I mean Olu Fashanu at Penn State and Joe Alt at Notre Dame, I think are blue chip prospects coming out of college, can fit in probably any system you want them to. Fashanu, I think, is one of the best pass protectors I've watched at the college level, at least compared to last year. I like Paris Johnson, but he was not a great pass protector as compared to what Fashanu looks like. And then we know about the receivers. I mean, yes, Marvin Harrison gets all the run, but Romeo Dunze at Washington is a stud. The other guy at Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, is a great player. I mean, we could go out, and Malik Neighbors at LSU is a stud. I think you go offense there, because I don't love the defensive line prospects this year around. I think you look to add there maybe in the 2nd round. So, yeah, receiver and tackle, why not?
So Jerzon Newton probably too rich for your taste as far as out of Illinois, or Jared Verse, the edge coming out of Florida State. You go with the premium blue chip offensive prospects before those guys?
Newton to me is a guy that you'd take in the top 15. I'd have no problem with it. Verse will go in the top 15, but I think in part because he kind of gets pushed up just because of the lack of talent at the edge rusher position. Like, I like Laiatu Latu a ton, but kind of like a Jalen Phillips, where he medically retired earlier in his football career, is now playing at UCLA, but because he had to transfer just to get on the field. Like, so yeah, like Newton's a stud. There's no question about it. And but to me, there are some other good interior guys. Leonard Taylor at Miami. There are some other names there that maybe you address with an early second. But anyway, we could go all day on a prospect conversation.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's invaluable insight, though, from our guy, Brad Spielberger. You can find it, of course, at PFF_Brad, and all the great work heading your way. PFF.com is already there and incoming as far as the NFL trade deadline. Brad, always great to talk to you. Thanks, and no hard feelings about you ratioing my co-host.
Yeah, Johnny, if you're watching, I apologize. But yeah, thanks for having me on as always.
Joe Alt, Paris Johnson Jr., that would be legit. Arizona Animal, absolutely. My thoughts exactly. I did think, Richard, that was the most interesting thing that Brad broke down, was what a potential Hollywood Brown contract would look like. 20 won't be that expensive next year. Obviously, the cap goes up. Justin Jefferson resetting the market, and you're seeing right around that. OBJ is spread across a couple void years, and year to year, it's really not that tough to absorb. But then you've got the Christian Kirk, who I think he signed like 4 for 72, can escalate to 4 for 84, and he approaches $19-20 million. And I mean, the wide receiver position has become a premium position, and players like Hollywood Brown, they're not going to like reset the market like a Justin Jefferson, but they're going to be paid handsomely as well because they bring value to any offense that they're going to be a part of. And it's going to be up to Monty Ossenfort to kind of diagnose, like, is he going to be this guy? Is he going to be the fringe one receiver? Is it going to be him and Michael Wilson and maybe one extra piece in this passing attack? Or do they feel like, okay, he's 5'9", he's going to be 27 once he gets paid. Is it worth to make that heavy of an investment into a Hollywood Brown? And I think, Monty Ossenfort has a tough decision to make. I saw somebody join during the interview with Brad and, was asking, what did you miss? You missed a ton, right? We had Ryan Baldinger break down what went wrong against the Rams. How could Joshua Dobbs and this Cardinals offense get back on track? We'll have that interview up on its own, or you can just, watch this beginning of the show with Brian Baldinger and get all that tremendous insight that you get each and every Tuesday here on PHNX Cardinals. We also talked about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray continues to be the biggest story for somebody that hasn't taken any reps in practice, who hasn't been available since he tore his ACL back in December, had surgery in January, where tomorrow we're really going to find out, what the timeline looks like for Kyler Murray. He's either going to be designated to return for practice and he starts that process, or we wait another week. And, I think big story, either way it goes there. And then Budda Baker can be designated to return as well. He put the ninja emoji up in there. And let's advance this story. Producer Damon, I was telling you, I retweeted the Budda Baker ninja emoji, and current Arizona Cardinals starting safety in place of Budda Baker, Andre Sachare, or at least somebody running his Twitter account, liked that tweet, my repost of Budda Baker. So fellow Cardinal safety, he's liking the ninja emoji. So I think it's pointing towards, it's pretty much a slam dunk. He's going to be back on the practice field come tomorrow.
To me, it was more like, I have no idea what this means.
Well, it's not bad. Like, I saw somebody jump in the chat. I think it was like PC Mac or something that was saying, anybody hearing about a Budda Baker trade? Look, I think that ship has sailed. Like, if they were going to ever entertain, and it never felt like we weren't hearing that they were, that, Budda Baker was under contract. They actually locked in the 2024 season for Budda Baker, and then they threw him some extra cash this year. Like, if they were going to do it, it would have been when things were uncomfortable during the offseason. I don't see any reason why they would let, a talented player under contract, controllable beyond 2023, leave. So it's absolutely Budda stays forever. We're never letting you go, Budda Baker. And he loves it in the desert. He loves his Cardinals teammates. I don't see Budda Baker, outside of this team being 1-5 and lacking wins, being a disgruntled employee. Now, we talked to Brad, and he really didn't see anybody as a real viable trade candidate. Now, today on the Twitter streets, Mike Clay of ESPN, which Damon pointed out, was just out there in his Twitter avatar, just free, topless, and just going topless at the beach, just showing off his dad bod with no apologies, which I think I kind of respect it, right? I would never do that.
I really respect that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was saying earlier. Like, what a wild move, but also like a kind of a respectable move because it's so crazy no one else would do it.
No chance. I mean, it takes a very secure man to put that out, and then we'll see how secure he is as far as his NFL takes. This is what he tweeted out. Cardinals appeared to promote Trey McBride to the top of their tight end depth chart last week, which has me wondering if Zach Ertz could be moved at the deadline. Perhaps a Philly reunion, emoji eyes. Now, Ertz maintains his ties to Philly. He made a friendly bet with J.J. Watt when the Phillies were in the World Series last year against the Houston Astros. And I think he had to wear an Astros jersey after the Phillies went down. Hopefully the same will happen in the NLCS. But, Ertz has strong ties to Philadelphia. And I can't imagine there are many destinations throughout the NFL that he would welcome a trade to. He seems very comfortable here in the Valley, obviously where his wife grew up. His wife just retired from her unbelievable career playing women's soccer, playing for the U.S. women's team, winning gold medals and winning World Cups. And then, of course, they welcome their first child. I think he's very settled here. And the idea of picking up and moving at this stage in his career, a guy who's already got a ring, he's made a ton of money. Like, what does he really want to go? Like, would he welcome a trade to Dallas? Would he welcome a trade to another contending team? Would he welcome a trade to a contending team maybe further east and playing in like maybe a cold weather city? I don't know if that's necessarily something that Zach Ertz wants to do at his stage in his career. Now, obviously, he doesn't control his destiny, but I think that the Arizona Cardinals, like, if it's trade Ertz for a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick, is that worth it to just kind of sell Zach Ertz to whatever bidder is willing to take him for a lottery ticket type draft pick? Does that set a good precedent for how you kind of take care of your players? And I think the answer would be no. So if it's Philly and he would welcome to go return to the team that drafted him out of Stanford, and he had the most success in his NFL career too, then sure. But other than that, I don't see anybody kind of lining up as a trade partner for Ertz. You got Jessica saying love Ertz, just seems something off with his comeback right now. Look, I mean, and that's something that we're going to see with Kyler Murray is when you come back from a knee injury and you're trying to knock off the cobwebs and you're trying to knock off the rust. I mean, one thing is physically and the next thing's mentally, and these are non-contact injuries that can mess with you. And I think that all the players go through it. Richard's saying Ertz going to probably retire at the end of the year, may sign a one-day contract to retire as an Eagle. That could possibly happen. Absolutely. I mean, there's enough goodwill that remains between him and the Philly organization. There's no bad blood there. But I think Ertz, if he would, and that's a pretty stacked tight end room, like led by Dallas Goedert. Does he want to go there? He's got a pretty premier role here, even with McBride taking most of the snaps last week. And also keep in mind, McBride, he saw a lot of snaps at the end of the game when the game was already in hand, like where they just running a younger player out there, and Zach Ertz, it didn't make sense for him to go out there coming off an ACL injury and the surgery he had on his knee. Chikai Whittingham saying Ertz retires with his wife this year. I'm here for it. Look, I think that would be great. I think that Zach Ertz playing his remaining days here, it's not worth it to me to go out there and try to get a 6th, 7th round pick, because I don't think you get much more than that for Zach Ertz. He is signed through 2024, but his contract lines up to where after the season, if you cut him, I think you absorb $5 million in dead cap money, but you save $10 million in cap space. So
yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Yeah. Right.
5 million dead cap, 10 million 50,000 you'd
right.
save.
So it's a good chunk of change. And yeah, I mean, are we watching his last games as a Cardinal this season? No doubt about it. But is it gonna happen sooner rather than later in a form of a trade? I'm not so sure. So covered a lot of ground today, and it's fun. And I think it's even better tomorrow when we find out kind of what the latest is on Kyler Murray and Budda Baker. A lot of smoke going on around there. So make sure you're following along on Twitter at PHNX_Cardinals, PHNX_Sports on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, subscribe right here on YouTube to PHNX Sports. Of course, find us wherever you find your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating, leave a review. We appreciate it. And make sure that those notifications, those alerts are set up. Hit that like button on this video. Let's get the likes way up. Get it moving around there on YouTube in front of more eyes, more ears. And we can continue to spread the good word about this franchise, which direction it's going under Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort. And can't wait. Hopefully we're giving you good news tomorrow about Kyler Murray and Budda Baker. In the meantime, enjoy the D-backs game. Enjoy the Yotes game. We'll talk to you on Wednesday right here on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.